Good morning.
Good morning.
It's
Happy
Tuesday.
Tuesday.
Ooh, ooh, ooh. I see a
Special
new
mug
mug.
for today. This is my ladybug mug. Thank you to Pam, our
Oh,
loyal friend, listener, retreat attendee, uh, woman extraordinaire. So
I
she brought me
love
on
that.
a visit, and it is nice and cozy. It's so ample and yummy. So thank you, Pam.
That is beautiful. And I
What do
love
you got?
ladybugs.
Yeah.
I'm in my peacock mug today. Just
Nice.
feeling peacocky. But
Nice.
I'm like wearing fire today. Um,
Oh,
last night, Aries, super full moon, like the energy was insane. And I had um 8 women at the cacao ceremony last night. And I just want to say men are always welcome, but last night we had just 8 women. And like I woke up this morning still like physically vibrating, buzzing from the energy last night. It was like there are no words to describe how incredible last night was. And every once in a while you have that cacao ceremony that like 2 people show up and you have these thoughts like, why am I doing this? Why am I doing this? Nobody's listening, nobody's showing up, no one's paying attention. And then you have a night like last night and you just go, this is exactly why I'm doing this. This is exactly why I have to keep going. And whoever's meant to be listening is listening, and they're showing up and they're healing and they're growing. And it was just so beautiful. But I feel like part of what made it that way was that incredible fiery Aries full moon. Like the energy was just shh. And so this morning when I was getting dressed, I'm like, I'm still feeling fiery, so I'm gonna wear fire today.
I love that. I love that. You know, what I love about the cacao ceremonies and folks that come into it is like the unknown ripple effect of attending a ceremony like that. So not only does it inspire you to keep on going and doing what you're doing, but each of those people who attended, they show up in their lives a little bit differently, and how that affects the people in their homes and the people in their workplaces and the people that they run into at the grocery store and things like that. So it's really fascinating how just one little 2-3 hour event can really have massive impact in the world.
Yeah, it's like the flap of a butterfly wing, how
Yeah.
it creates a tsunami on the other side of the
Yeah,
world.
totally. I'm all about it. It totally makes sense. So, yeah, very cool.
Yeah. And it was probably the day before Sunday, we had Sweat Lodge, and it was a birthday Sweat Lodge ceremony. And I think it's interesting too when you ask people to show up for other people, how they step up, they take it up a notch. And that's beautiful to see. And that also makes me think like, you step up for others like that, step up for yourself like that as well. Like, um, not that every sweat lodge isn't powerful. And a lot of these traditional ceremonies, like people do, like they request, may I have a ceremony for me? Um, and that's excellent. And every ceremony can feel like that, even if it's not a special ceremony. Just an everyday ceremony can be extra special if you
Yeah.
like.
I think showing up for yourself is something that we are teaching the younger generation, because it's not something that was ingrained in us. I mean, at least the way that I was raised, self-sacrifice was a huge part of your value as a human being, right? Is like, how much pain can I endure to benefit others? And, that makes me a better person, right? Even the word martyr, someone who dies for the cause, is so uplifted and, revered and things like that. And I think there's a lot to be said for teaching little kids, like, okay, this is how you take time for yourself, So this weekend, everyone knows I have, 16-year-old twins, boy, girl. And, at 16, they have lots and lots of their own thoughts and opinions. And one of the things that I love to do, which is one of the reasons I moved up here, is go to different festivals and go apple picking and, all the great American pastimes, that I never grew up doing because it just wasn't, part of my life in South Florida. So up here, there was a big, giant fall festival. This was its 49th year. So I can't wait to see what happens next year at the 50th, but it was absolutely phenomenal. The night before, we were at the dinner table, and, we eat dinner every night as a family. And so I said to everybody at the table, hey, I'm going to this festival tomorrow, just, FYI. And it was kind of like really sweet because my daughter looks at me and she says, well, tomorrow is my rest day. I'm going to spend the day relaxing and do my laundry and catch up on my schoolwork, because she had gone to school all week and worked almost every night. And then she worked on Saturday as well. So she recognized that even though this was a once a year amazing thing that she could do with mom, that how she felt and listening to her own body, that she wanted to take a rest day. So I was like, okay, like the mom in me was like, oh, she doesn't want to go with me. But the woman in me was like, all right, girl, like, good job. Like I'm proud of her. Right. And what's really interesting is that in the same moment, my son leans over, he puts his hand on me and he leans in and he goes, Mom, I see you and I hear you, and I'll decide in the morning, And of course, he ended up sleeping in and whatnot. But the fact that he took the time out to look me right in the eye, to acknowledge me, to, hold my hand, like focus his attention, right? And say, I see you, I hear you, and I'll decide in the morning. So I ended up going by myself, which was actually beautiful because then I could stop and stare and talk to anybody that I wanted to, and buy all the stuff I wanted to buy without anybody telling me anything. And I got to see some amazing, amazing things. I mean, I could do a whole show just on that, but it's really interesting to watch my kids grow and hear all the little seeds that were planted when they were little come out. This morning my son said something about I don't know, somebody, I forget who he was talking about, and a group of people, and he was like, oh, they might be sick, like physically ill. And I was like, what makes you say that? And he's like, well, they have a lot of like mental stress going on, and how like what happens in your mind shows up in your body, so I'm guessing that's why they're sick. And I'm like, listening. Oh my God. So it was very exciting. But again, going back to, I think the hope of, a generation that completely takes care of themselves without necessarily needing to be reminded or prompted is in this upcoming, generation or two. So at least that's where I'm putting my work in, and you got to lead by example, right? So.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I love, he said to you, I see you and I hear you. And that leads into our topic of today. Do you feel invisible, and how to be seen, heard, and valued? And this is also the topic of my newsletter that went out this morning. And I know there's one person that's going to read it and think that I did this because of her. And she may have been the catalyst that was like, all right, it's time for me to write about this. And I was like, it's time for us to talk about this. But so many people that get on my table or come to our retreats or events, like it's something I hear over and over again, that people don't feel seen, they don't feel heard, and they just have this deep inner longing to be seen and heard. And, part of that I feel like is society, and we're all just super busy, just doing our own thing and just going. But I also see it as like, if I don't feel seen, I need to step in my power and look at, if other people aren't seeing me, where am I not seeing me? Like, I get to see me, I get to hear me. And that then allows others to tap into that field and see me as well. Um, and the other side of, like, you had mentioned generational earlier, and I especially see this happening in like that baby boomer generation just before us, where they were all like, just put their head down and go and do the things that you need to do. I've had these conversations with my dad, like, for him, it was about providing for his family. And so whether he liked his job or not, he got up every morning, he went and did that job, and he was happy to do the job because it paid him the money that he needed to take care of his family. But there wasn't a lot of opportunity for people in that generation to really tune into themselves and think about self-care and think about who they truly were and their authenticity and following their dreams. And I like, they're all waking up right now. I think part of it may be like they see the end in sight and realize, like, I haven't been able to be my true authentic self. I haven't been able to put that authentic version of me out in the world. And now they're craving doing that and wanting people to witness and see that. And I think it's like a gift. Like, even watching you talk about how your son said he sees you and he hears you, like, you lit up when you were talking about that. And so giving that gift to somebody else, like, can we all just slow down for a minute and see each other and hear each other? And I'm just going to give you a little praise right now, because I have never seen you so silent for a moment, and I don't even feel that like you're ready to say something else. But that's like something that has so been programmed into many cultures here, that you're not listening to hear, you're listening to, respond. What am I going to say? What am I going to say? And so you're never really listening to the other person because you're worried about what you're going to say when they stop talking.
I mean, that's fair. And I think it's normal. If I don't, like, thoughts pop up as you're talking of like, oh, I would like to respond and say this, but now of course it's all gone. So I have nothing to say. I think this conversation is multi-layered. And I can't think of the only catch-all podcast snippet that I can think to pull together is to give what you want to receive, right?
Yeah.
To be seen, see someone else, to be heard, hear someone else, just putting out there what it is that you would like. That said, as a mom and as a woman, I totally get that there's 1,000 people listening right now going, okay, but I have sacrificed my entire life listening and hearing and showing up for other people. And when is it my turn? Like, I totally get that. And that takes me back to your point of start with yourself. A lot of times, like going to the festival yesterday was me hearing myself and giving myself what I wanted, right? Despite what other people, have in their plans and things like that. Yeah, I don't know. I think that this is a very complex issue for me, part of me is you reap what you sow. Part of me is like, there's generational stuff that goes with that. I don't know. At the end of the day, I think be kind is the shortest answer I could give. Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, this is so such a multidimensional thing, and there's no one solution to it. There's layers and layers and layers and layers. And yes, absolutely, always give what you want to receive. That's a law of abundance. And so if you do want to be seen, make sure that you see others. And and then I tap, one of the topics that we talked about quite a bit last night was, the witch wound, and how many of us in past lives were burned at the stake for showing up as our authentic self. And so within a lot of people, there's that fear of being seen. So even though you crave it and you want it, you're afraid to put yourself out there because of what might happen. People might not like me. They might not accept me. They might judge me. They might ridicule me, like whatever that fear is. I'm sure there are places in this world today where people still are afraid to speak their truth because of they might get thrown in jail or they might get killed. And so fear can be a big side of that. And we get to, last night too was a safe space for all the people that showed up to show up as their authentic self. And so I think that is a huge piece of what we do, and creating safe community for people to be able to show up.
Mm-hmm. And I think that you should not, don't sleep on the idea of a retreat or a community night, right? Like you host, getting together with people that feel the same way you feel is in and of itself medicine. I mean, so many moms that I know, I speak to each of them individually and they're so frustrated. But then if you get them all together and they share their frustrations openly and honestly, then everyone feels like, oh, it's not just me, it's okay. And it kind of takes the fire out of it a little bit. You know what I mean? Like, yes, things are still frustrating, but your reaction to it isn't as, volatile. Same thing with women entrepreneurs, and I'm sure men too. But, we tend to pull a female groups, so that was one of the things that I realized when I had my studio in South Florida, is that all my clients were saying the same thing, that they had just moved into town. They didn't know anyone. They weren't sure where or how to meet people, that, wasn't sitting in a bar screaming over the music kind of a thing. And that's how, speakeasy nights started. Right. And the cacao ceremonies and everything else was just, hearing all of these individual people saying things that they're all saying the same thing. So I show up, let me use my I statements. I will show up to an event thinking, oh my gosh, certainly I'm the only one who's, marketing failed this month, or who didn't meet her numbers, or who whatever. And then you get there and you hear people that are further along the path than you, people that are behind you on the path, people that are right there with you. And it gives so much perspective. And for me, it helps. That's one thing that helps me be, seen and heard and valued, is going into these spaces where I'm in the middle, right? I love being with people that have businesses that are way more successful than mine, because I love soaking up their knowledge. And I love being in spaces where I can teach, because I see other people struggling and I'm like, hey, I've been through that. I know the answer to that. Let me share that with you. Right. And then just the people that are at exactly my level, where I'm like, man, is it just me? And they're like, no, it's not just you. And that conversation, that journey is true, whether for me, we're talking about entrepreneurship, being a woman, being a wife, being a mother, anything, really, anything. So yeah, that, and honestly, sometimes a good meme really just cures the day. My sister and I communicate through memes, and enough said. We don't need to belabor the point. Just a good meme gets gets the point across. But yeah, that's community is definitely a big space for me in there. Yeah.
Um, I think, in speaking to the community, part of being seen is realizing that you're not alone. Because when you think you're alone and you're the only one, that's part of, I think, being not feeling seen is also feeling lonely. And so when you get in that community and realize you're not alone, and then you see yourself in others and know that you're not alone. You're not the only one that is experiencing that thing. You're not the only one that thinks that thing. And so, yeah, like if you want to be seen, if you want to be heard, show up in the places that are going to be an energetic match for you. Because I think sometimes when we're not feeling seen and heard, we're in a community that's not really our tribe, it's not our people. And they just can't see you because you're not vibrating at the same level.
Well, and I think all of that, the litmus test is, do I feel safe being vulnerable here? So many times, particularly like in the entrepreneurship world, you want to put your best foot forward. When people ask, how's business, you want to say it's gangbusters. It's great, right? Because you feel like the better business appears, the more people will want to work with me. But if that's not genuine and that's not true, then you're kind of like creating this, ill vibration, right? This hollow space where you're not, living your truth. Now, you can say, hey, it's been a rough month, but I'm so excited for what's coming next, right? It doesn't have to be down in the dumps negative, but I do think that there's a lot of validation in just saying what it is, and lately this is a message that's been coming up with a lot of, folks that I've been meeting, entrepreneurs that are like, man, this has been a tough month, et cetera, et cetera. And I think there's so much power in saying that, because everyone else in the room then goes, oh man, yeah, me too. Like, gosh, I wasn't going to say anything, but whew, what do you think's going on? And then it kind of takes it off of the everything is my fault feeling, right? Because as a solopreneur, everything falls on you. And so if your business isn't doing well, it's really hard to, figure it out, right? Because you're so close to it. But giving someone else the opportunity to be there, to listen, to reflect back to you what you're saying. I mean, some of the most powerful lessons I've learned is when somebody literally just repeated back to me what I said. And I'm like, oh my God, that sounds ridiculous. Or I'll say to myself, if my friend told me this is what I would say to them. Right. And that sometimes, also gets me out of my head. But you're right. Not being seen is a part and parcel with isolation, and isolation is a huge, loneliness is a huge word in the solopreneur community, for sure. So yeah, that and moms and, sometimes being a woman too. So it's all
So
about community.
I'm curious for you, as someone who, yeah, it's over a year now but you picked up and moved to a place where nobody knew you, nobody had seen you, nobody had heard you. Um, I'm curious what that process has been like for you to, you know, because as a businesswoman, like you need to be seen, you need to be heard.
Yeah.
And what was that transition like for you coming into the complete unknown? And down in Fort Lauderdale, a lot of people know who Graciela is. And even with you not here, like sometimes I'm like, I need to keep a tally card, like how many times Graciela's name comes up, because again, you're not here, but you left such an impression on this community and the people down here. And so your name comes up all the time. Your name came up in cacao ceremony last night. So but I'm curious to know, like, what was that transition like for you?
Yeah, super, super good question. And I know I've talked about this on the show before, but, coming into a new place, and this is why I understand my clients so much, right? Because they would come to me with the same stories, and now I understand. I didn't have a studio space for the first like 6 or 7 months that I moved here. And so if I didn't have a studio space, I wasn't marketing, I wasn't doing anything because, as much as I can work on location, I prefer having a space, right? So during those 6 months, it was, of course, also time for me to set up my home and, unpack 50 million boxes. And, this house needed a ton of attention. So I was very busy, but I was also very isolated. And I would tell people, it was almost like I had watched myself die in a way. And I don't mean that like in a sad, I'm going to cry kind of a way. I mean that in like I ceased existing kind of a way, right? Because when I was in South Florida, I was busy all the time. I had people coming in my door. I was hosting events all the time. And then when I got here for the first 6 months, the phone was not ringing because I had not been marketing. So I had no clients whatsoever. And I did not have any friends because I just got here and I was busy, setting up the home. And so it was really like, okay, this must be what it feels like when you die, because like everything just like freezes, like it just stopped cold turkey. It was like the day I moved here, radio silence, and it was really, really interesting. Part of me was super grateful for the break. I'll be honest. I sat outside and I looked at the trees a lot. I made friends with all my birds and my squirrels and everything else. But part of me was like, man, this is so weird, And then of course, once I got my studio space and I started marketing and being out in the community again, then I started, meeting a ton of people and stuff like that. And now I'm sure, people know my name, for better or for worse. But yeah, it's even now. I mean, I've been here a year and a half. I have met some really, really cool people, and I, have had events and things like that. But it's going to take another, I don't know, 5 years, to get to the level that I had it, in Fort Lauderdale. What's really interesting here is how often people come to events without knowing anybody, so I'm really accustomed to, oh, my friend and I are coming to do whatever, or, oh, I met you through so-and-so, or, I get introduced or something like that. And here there are so many people that are from somewhere else that they, just come to events either on their own or with just one other person. And it's been a really, really cool way to meet people with a story, so yeah, it's been a journey. It's been interesting.
I saw you got to photograph a local celebrity.
Carl the Sasquatch.
Yeah.
Yeah, what a trooper. What a trooper. So much fun. Yeah.
I have to say, like, you even made a Sasquatch look good.
Well, I had to keep it PG, I couldn't make it a boudoir shoot, but I did get him let's see, drinking tea, contemplating life, frolicking. I don't know if you've ever seen a Sasquatch frolic, but I did that. And I had him read a book. And for the eagle eye people, if you zoom in on the book, he's reading Walden, which is all about, going off into the woods to live deliberately. So yeah, it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun. Shout out to Visit Smokies. They're doing such a great job.
Oh man. All right.
Yeah.
You got anything else on being seen, heard, and valued?
I think we have been seen and heard today.
Awesome. Well, shout out to our listeners. Thank you so much for tuning in. On a little side note, we are, I think, 23 downloads away from hitting the 20,000 mark, which is kind of a big, cool milestone. So if you want to help us get there, go listen on your favorite podcast, because these YouTube things, they don't mix together. So yes, we're definitely over 20,000 in total overall, but the podcast world is separate from the YouTube world, and So help boost us and get us there. And like, subscribe, share. Like, we hear feedback on some of our episodes and they're like, I love that. And that was exactly what I needed to hear. If you really like an episode, share it with a friend. Like, that helps spread the love everywhere.
And don't forget about our upcoming retreat. So before the holidays suck you in and talk about not being seen, heard, and valued, before you start giving it all away to everyone around you, your peace of mind and your attention and all of these things, give yourself the gift of a retreat with like-minded women. We will be in Sebastian, right? Florida.
Yep. Yep.
January, I want to say 9, 10, 11.
Yep. You got
Okay,
it.
I'm getting better. It's all on the website. I can never memorize these things. There's a really cool landing page. The retreat is called Wild and Free, just like my tattoo right there. And if you come to the retreat, I'll tell you the story. But yeah, it's a good opportunity to plan now, since you know you're going to give so much of yourself in the next 3 months to everything around you. It is school project season. It is not prom, what's the other one? Homecoming, and Halloween and Thanksgiving and Christmas and, all the holidays and all the things. And it's gonna take a toll. So early January, everything is quiet. Nobody needs you. It's going to be the perfect time to give something to yourself. I cannot wait. Particularly that I know January up here is going to be very cold, and I'm looking forward to a nice warmish retreat in Florida. So yeah, definitely check that out on the website. Did I miss anything about the retreat?
I don't think you did. And like you said, the details are all on the website. So we hope to see you there. And with that, I am going to wish everybody a magical day.
Bye.